Hey everyone, it's February 7th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share it with Mexican serial killer Juan Vallejo Corona, known as the machete murderer who killed at least 25 victims in the early 1970s. And that is him right up there. Corona was born in Jalisco, Mexico in 1934. When the U.S. suffered a labor shortage in the 40s due to much of the workforce being involved in World War II, his older brothers came to California to work on farms. Corona joined them when he was 16, picking carrots, onions, and melons seasonally in Central and Northern California. He moved to Yuba City, which is a small town suburb north of Sacramento, and married a woman he had met in Reno in 1953. At Christmas of 1955, California suffered tremendous rainstorms that led to massive flooding of the Yuba River, causing the deaths of 38 people. Corona became extremely religious after the event, believing that everyone in the valley had died and anyone he saw was just a ghost. He spent all his free time reading the Bible, and his brother had him committed, where he underwent 23 shock treatments for his diagnosis of schizophrenia. His brother then took him back to Mexico, but he quickly returned after obtaining a green card. Corona's marriage didn't survive this period, but he was married for a second time in 1960 and had his first child. Though his wife went to family friends to tell him that he was sick in the head, his business prospects were doing rather well by the mid-60s, and he put together crews of migrant workers to man many of the farms in the area. In 1971, a farmer noticed a freshly dug hole in his peach orchard that had been filled in and had a sheriff excavate it, finding a corpse inside. The man had been stabbed twice in the chest and had the back of his head hacked open. Just 5 days later, 9 more bodies were discovered in another orchard, most of which had their shirts pulled up over their heads and were without pants, and they had all been slashed to death. Receipts and other documents were found on the bodies that bore Corona's name, and witnesses placed many of them in his truck on their way to a job site a few days prior. He was arrested and his home was searched, and knives were seized along with a ledger containing 34 names and dates, including at least 7 of the victims that had been found. Additional bodies were soon discovered, bringing the total to 25. All of them were drifters who had been working the farms, and most had been housed on Corona's property. In July of 1971, he was indicted and charged with 25 counts of murder. After a 3-month trial in 1973, he was convicted of all 25 murders, receiving 25 life sentences. But since his lawyers never mentioned his history of mental illness, the conviction was overturned and a new trial was held in 1982, at which he was convicted again. Interestingly, his new lawyers tried pinning the blame on Corona's brother, but the jury wasn't convinced. That same year, he lost an eye in a prison knife fight and was denied parole 8 times throughout his life, remaining in Corcoran State Prison until his death at the age of 85 in 2019. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Juan Vallejo Corona, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.